Just before we get into the podcast, I'm going to ask you to do me a favour and hit subscribe. Why am I asking you to hit subscribe? Well, it's because more people like you will get to hear the content and they will then be able to build their coaching business just like you. It's nice to be nice, isn't it? Thanks for listening and subscribing. I'm interviewing Abi Sea, who is about X-ray marketing, particularly for coaches. I'm about to let her into the room. Let's see what happens next. Let's wait for Abi to come into the room. I first met Abi at Adventures in Marketing, and here she is. Hello, Abi. Are you there? You are on mute, my love. And I'm recording. You're allowed to swear, though. Okay.
No problem. You look lovely. Really nice to see you.
Thank you. You look lovely too. You're always bright and colourful. The first thing is how you feeling?
Oh, thank you. I'm much better. I've
Good.
finally stopped testing positive. Yeah, it was a very long bout of COVID, but I'm feeling much better now. Thank you. And thanks for being so flexible to change today's session. You would not
That's
have wanted to meet me last week.
no, no. I just don't want our listeners to hear you coughing because that's not
No.
nice, is it
Yeah,
really?
no, I
No.
sounded like I'd been dredged up from the bottom of the sea. So yeah, much better today. Thanks.
Good. No, I'm really pleased. I always like to do a little intro and I'm experimenting with just kind of merging that straight into the interview. So we'll see how that works out, Abby.
Yeah,
Um, but I first met you at Adventures in Marketing.
you did.
Because you very kindly messaged me on LinkedIn and went, "Do you want to come to Adventures in Marketing?" I thought it's January, it's dark, she wears nice bright
Yeah.
clothes, it's not far from where I live. Yes, all right then. Why not? It's one of the best events I've ever attended,
Oh, I'm so
Abby.
happy to hear that. And,
Yeah.
that was a bit of for me, it was stepping out of my comfort zone to get in touch with you because I'm not really this sort of person that goes out there and does pitch slapping on DMs. But I
Pitch
just
slapping.
thought pitch slapping, yeah, isn't it great?
That's great. I love that.
It's not mine, but I use it regularly now. Um, but I just figured that if I lived in Scotland and it was easy to get to Edinburgh for an event, I would at least want to know about the event so I could
Yeah.
make the decision whether to go or not. So it actually worked out really well. I've met loads of new people by that approach. It's not something I'm going to do a lot, but
Hmm.
yeah, I just feel like everyone deserves to at least know so they can make the decision like grown-ups.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a lesson for our coaches because people can't use you unless they know who you are and what you do.
Exactly.
So I loved it. Now, how long have you been running Adventures in Marketing?
So we are just stepping into planning for the fourth year. So we
Wow.
started in 2023. Is that
Okay.
right? Yeah, 24, 25 is our third year. 20. I'm
Right.
so terrible at math. Yeah, 2023 was our first year.
Right. And
Yeah.
and I want everybody to know that the reason I relaunched my podcast is because I met the guy, is he Colin, who's the podcast guy you
Colin,
brought in,
yeah.
and I sat at his little workshopy table, um, and I went, my podcast hasn't grown. I've been doing it for 3 years. He went, there's no reason for people to turn up. You need to have a reason for them to turn up. You need to like give them something really specific. I was like, oh yeah, that's quite obvious.
Yeah. But it's often the most obvious things that
Mhm.
we completely sail by, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Okay, so you're a marketing queen. You have X-ray messaging.
I
What
do.
is X-ray messaging, Abby?
Well, it's messaging, but brighter and deeper.
Right, okay.
So basically, I work with clients to shine a really bright light into the bones of who you are, what you do, and who you do it for.
Right.
I know as a solopreneur or, however you want to kind of describe that, it's really hard to go deep into those parts of your business because we're so busy with the day to day. We've got so many external, plates that we're spinning, but also the overthinking and the imposter syndrome, all of the stuff that we battle with every day. So when it comes to really digging into your message and what you want the world to know about your work, we let ourselves off the hook all the time.
Yeah.
We'll not ask that difficult question, or we'll come back to it when we've got time, that elusive window that, when does that ever open up?
Never.
So it's really hard to go that deep, and you need to go that deep with
Yeah.
your messaging, because it's not just about what you say about your work, it's about what you believe about you as you're doing that work. And that's where messaging is such a powerful, strong foundation. But you need to shine the lights in all the sort of dark and unpleasant corners, so that you can bring it to the fore and work on it and make it feel comfortable.
It's not easy work, is it?
No, it's actually really difficult. And I was with a client yesterday and I made her cry,
Oh,
and I sort of gave her a virtual tissue, and I thought, I actually make my clients cry quite a lot. And it's not, obviously, it's not because I'm an unpleasant person, but there's in what other world, and if your audience are all coaches, I mostly work with coaches. In what other world does a human being get to sit down in that space for that hour, and the space that you're creating for your
mm,
clients, and just talk about themselves
mm,
and really reflect on really deep and powerful questions that you've never asked yourself and no
mm,
one else has asked you, and just get that freedom to just really think about the answers and talk about this stuff that's you don't even know it's been buried.
no.
So yeah, it is difficult stuff to do on your own, and it's a privilege to be able to do that with my clients. But the emotions are going to come.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Because our coaches have all had really successful careers. They've either grown a business and sold it, or they've worked their way up in organizations, and they're, hugely successful people. And they come out on their own, and it's the first time often they've been on their own for a start.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I've got these coaching skills. So a lot of them come with their new shiny ICF or ILM or whatever it is they've got. And then I teach them our methodology, and then I teach them how to actually grow a coaching business, which is a whole different skill set.
Mm. Yep.
But that journey, you're right, of getting really specific about, well, okay, all this experience, all this knowledge that you've got, what is it that you're actually giving people or allowing them to do? And that's a lot of soul searching, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And also there's a lot of stuff that you just think you know about
Mm.
yourself.
Yeah,
And then there's stuff that you believe is wholeheartedly who you are and how you do the work. And
yeah,
you never challenge yourself on how much of the sort of unhelpful stuff is true. And you never challenge yourself to just go that little bit deeper, so that you can, really get to the heart of the people that you want to coach, the
yeah,
people that you want to work with.
yeah,
And when you're on your own, it can feel really difficult, because you're making all of the decisions. The
yeah,
decision about which email platform is just as important to you as the decision to, niche into this one specific area to help one type of person. So
yeah,
if every decision feels like a priority, then everything becomes overwhelming. And that's where the big deep work just fades off the to-do list altogether, because we're firefighting and picking kids up at ridiculous times of the day, or whatever it is that we've got, going on outside of our working lives.
yeah.
It's a lot.
There is a lot. Let's get into the detail then, Abby. So you do a lot on email messaging.
Yes.
Okay, email messaging has a bad rap.
Yes.
How do you do it differently?
So I have a framework that I apply to all of my content, and that I work with my clients for their content and their marketing. And it's called the BLITZ framework. And
Okay,
it's based around positive psychology. When
okay.
I first started as a self-employed copywriter, I was really interested in all of the assets and the kind of scaffolding that you need when you're doing a launch. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very much in the launch space. And obviously emails is a massive part of launching.
Yeah,
But what I was seeing as a consumer was so many tactics and so many messages that made me feel really shit about myself.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want it enough. I wasn't prepared to take the risk enough. Ignore all of the people in your family and get another credit card, and
That's so horrible.
it's awful, and
Oh.
all it does is make you think that you're not good enough. You've got
Mhm.
no right to be at this table having this conversation, and that really the only way to succeed is to have one person with the secret sauce and to just keep trying to find that person
Mm.
until something sticks. And I thought, I can't be part of this noise.
Yeah.
It was really affecting my mental health.
Mm.
And so I had two choices. I could either step away completely and get a job and no longer be part of the world, or I could make what I was doing different. And
Mhm.
so for me, what I did was I looked at all of the negative psychological triggers that people were using in their marketing and look to what the opposites of those things were.
Right.
So I built the BLITZ framework around these positive triggers to make you feel great to write your emails or create your posts, but also to make people on the other side of that think, oh, that's refreshing. That she hasn't stuck the knife in while she's talked about this challenge that I've dealt with. So the framework is based on, it stands for building empathy, lifting with hope, inspire and ignite, truth and facts, shock,
Woohoo!
and zapping fears. And when you create messaging that has those positive triggers as the backbone, you feel good about what you're saying and
Yeah.
doing. And you can sort of also sense check, like, is this actually a positive thing that I'm saying? And if not, can
Mm.
I change it? So it feels great. You feel good about yourself. So you're more likely to do more marketing, to do more emails. But the person reading it on the other end feels like there is actually hope, there's an opportunity to change, that you have the power to do the changing. It's not someone else's secret sauce. So it works
Brilliant.
on two different levels.
Tired of being a lonely coach? Well, don't be alone any longer. Join us at tricrest.com, tricres.com. Find all the models, frameworks, PowerPoints, tools you're ever going to need as a coach, help on marketing, selling, and position yourself as a coach, plus a lot of other great kick-ass coaches are in that community. We'll see you there, tricres.com. Bye.
So yeah, with email marketing, I just stick with the BLITZ framework at all times. And it's amazing when you start to work from that place of positivity, it then starts to impact what offers you create, because you can
Yeah.
see the gaps that you're not offering your own clients. So you build a new offer, and then it feels exciting to get that offer out into the world. So it's a ripple effect, really.
I love that. Yeah, my favorite ones are things like, uh, I take it you've not read my last email. I'm like, don't be passive aggressive with me. It's like, I have no
Yeah.
idea who you are.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, no, you don't deserve, just because someone has signed up to your email list, you don't then automatically deserve that place in their inbox. You
No,
certainly don't have any right to expect that your email is going to be opened and acted
no,
upon. And the
no.
fact that someone signed up at all is a holy miracle these days. So,
Yes, it's getting harder, isn't it?
yeah, it really is. It
Yeah,
really.
yeah, it is. How long have you been in this game for, Abby?
So I've been full-time self-employed since 2019.
Okay.
I was a sort of generalist copywriter when I went self-employed. I've been sort of side hustling since 2015, around about
Okay.
then. Went fully self-employed and was just starting to figure out the online world aspect of it.
Mm,
And lost all of my clients overnight
yeah,
with COVID.
yeah.
So it's been very much the sort of swan. In fact, it's not even the swan. It's
No.
been, a tornado. Who am I kidding? It's been a
Yes.
tornado inside and out since then.
Yeah. And you're still here and you're still laughing and you're still
Yeah,
standing.
definitely. I would say the last 5 years has been, quite the journey,
Mm,
mentally, personally, and from a business perspective. but I'm feeling much clearer now. Like there's a
Good.
few things in my actual health that has changed. I've
Okay.
finally got my hormones regulated, there's
Oh,
loads of
oh, that
stuff.
old chestnut, Abby.
So I feel now like the last 5 years have been building up to, I've been seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work,
Mm,
seeing what I like and what I want from a business. And now it's like, okay, we're going now. This is it.
good. Oh, good. Yeah. And it does take that amount of time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think one of the hardest things that I've found over the last 5 years is seeing people talk about their successes and what they've achieved in a lesser amount of time
Mm,
than I've been
hmm
doing this. So,
hmm
you'll see people that say, in the last 3 years, I've gone from a corporate job to six-figure business. And it's really hard to
Yeah.
not think, well, I've been doing this for 6 years and I don't have that. I don't
Yeah.
have the confidence to say I've got that, or I don't have the, whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
so hard to shut down all of that noise and just think, you're your own book, you're your own, you're doing it differently. You
Yeah.
paint it differently. You build relationships differently. You paint your living room differently to
Yeah.
other people. Why do you expect your success to be the same as everyone else? And that's
Yeah.
that's been my biggest challenge, I would say.
It is the hardest challenge. And the way, I don't know how you've dealt with that, but the way I deal with that is yoga really helps because every yoga teacher I've ever had says, don't do your neighbor's practice, do your own practice.
Okay, yeah,
Your body is different to everybody else's. And just because your body could do this last week, it doesn't mean it can do it this week.
yeah,
Um, and and every time I go about once, maybe twice a week if I'm lucky. And every time I go, it's just a reminder of like, you can only do what you can do. You
yeah.
can't do anybody else's stuff their way. You just can't.
Yeah, that's really great. And it works on two levels because there are thousands of yoga teachers
Yeah,
too. So
yeah,
they're all technically doing the same thing, but they all do it a little bit
they
differently.
do.
There's a reason that you go to the specific yoga classes you go to
Yeah,
versus, the many, many other options that you've got out there. So yeah, it's just really hard when you want success for yourself
yeah,
and when you want to stop worrying about, bringing in enough money and blah blah
yeah.
blah. It's really hard to remember that, but that should be everyone's daily mantra, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it was a yoga teacher years ago who shared that, and a massive light bulb went on. I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, okay, right, fine. I'll stop worrying about everybody else then. And also, after that hormone flux, Abby,
Mm.
that I went through during lockdown as well, which was highly
Oh,
entertaining.
thanks, universe.
Yeah, cheers.
Not got enough to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, the business panning and all the rest of it. And my husband having a job he runs a construction business, so he was furloughed and he was playing in the garden and he was having an amazing time. And I'm just sat in the office going, it's all gone to shit. Anyway, we got over that. But now you're through the other side. I
Yeah,
think it's easier to give less of a toss.
yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely, it really is. And also, just to, yeah, it's easy because you start to recognize what you can do.
yeah.
A couple of years ago, I was really struggling and I thought, I don't know if having a business is good for my mental health. And
Uh-huh.
it certainly wasn't good for my husband's mental health. Um, and so I thought, right, well, the easiest thing to do in this situation is to apply for a job and just
Mhm,
take that stress of should I apply for a job? Should I get a job? Should I get a part-time job? The
mhm.
ongoing constant turmoil
Yeah, yeah.
this process. So I thought, right, well, let's just shut up this really annoying voice for a while and just start applying for jobs. And every bit of my body was resisting filling out these application forms. I really, it was just like, I felt like Kevin the teenager being dragged through to just fill out this form. And I thought, well, that's very telling for a start.
Yeah.
But then I started to fill out the sections, what skills do you bring to the job? And I didn't have enough space for all of the stuff that I knew, all of the stuff that I knew before I was self-employed,
Mm.
and then like, the constant learning that you do every single minute of the day
Yeah.
you are self-employed. I didn't have enough space on the application form, so I wrote it all out onto, sheets of A4 paper, and I thought, I cannot give somebody else all of this for £26,000 a year.
No.
Cannot do this. I
No.
physically cannot do this. So what is the other option? And I had this whole list of like, sort of validated data to show me I'm not worth this. I am worth something completely
Yeah.
different. And no one is going to give you that thing that you're worth. You're just going to
Oh,
have to make it happen. So
so
yeah.
true. That is so true. I've never looked at it like that. And we've all had those moments. I know I have, right? I'm just going to become an Amazon Prime driver. There seems to be loads of those. How hard can it be? I'll just listen to podcasts all day and
Yeah.
drop off parcels. And
All the steps you do in a day.
I know. Or I'll just sit on the checkout at Waitrose. That'd be nice and have nice chats with
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
But then you go, right, okay, well, one, I'd be bored within about 5 seconds. And the minute I had to fill out a form to ask for time off, I would just probably have a strop. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, definitely. It's yeah, not for
yeah.
me.
So carry on doing. Okay, great. So what I think our coaches will learn a lot from what you've already said, which is absolutely brilliant. So if they want to work with you, how can they get to work with you?
So there's lots of different levels. Well, not lots of different levels. There are a few levels. I
Uh-huh.
have an 8-week package of support called X-ray messaging. And
Okay.
that is a combination of deep dive one-to-one sessions where we go really deep into the X-ray part of your messaging, who you are, what you believe in, who you want to be when you're marketing yourself, because you get to choose. But without having to feel like a fake or a phony. So we do all of that. And then there's a whole section where we work on the BLITZ key messaging. So
Okay.
as you're identifying your key messages based on the positive psychology we talked about earlier, you're also doing work in the background where you're building up a bank of content. So you're
Okay.
taking the key messaging and applying it in the real world. You can post it straight away or you can keep it for the end. And then we have the last session is beam, where you're beaming your light into the world. And there's a strategy around your messaging and content, and how to actually use it in the real world so that you can get the results and attract these brilliant clients that you want to work with. So that's a package of support. But then there's more intense levels where we do all of that work, and then I do the writing for you because I'm a
Okay.
copywriter. So I can do all the done for you. I can help plan out the funnels for the launches, for the emails. I can write the monthly emails, all that kind of stuff. Or there's an earlier stage where we do a deep dive on one specific area. So what I
Okay.
find with coaches is you've got the skills, you've got the passion, you've got the belief, you've got the confidence, everything is there, but you still can't actually figure out how to talk about your offer.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's so
Like,
true.
oh, how do we
So
do
true.
this? And the more you fumble around that, or the more you can't articulate what you do for someone, the more of an idiot you feel, and you've lost the person you're talking to, and it's gone. The moment's gone. So sometimes, we just need a deep dive in that one area. So I'll do like an audit or a deep dive of your current website or your offer or your ideal client or your right fit client. So yeah, there's lots of different levels, and probably the best way to find out about any of them is, surprise, surprise, to join my email list.
Yes.
But I send out a weekly email on a Monday, which is a micro lesson on messaging. So
Okay.
it's 2 minutes to read, 15 minutes to implement, and then you've just kind of ticked off another positive messaging
Brilliant.
exercise in your marketing. So yeah, I'll send you the links for all of that.
Please do. And what is your website? Give it a
It's
shout out.
abc.co.uk.
And Abi Sea is SEA, as in seaside. So
Yeah,
abc.co.uk.
yeah,
I think those micro lessons on a Monday are going to be so useful for our coaches.
great.
I'm going to share that. We have a private community on Band. I'm going to share that. And I think that'll be really, really useful for them.
Amazing. Yeah.
Um, and I'm going to talk to you offline about deep diving into our messaging
Okay.
because I definitely need some help with our email sequencing and our messaging
Yeah,
there without a shadow of a doubt.
lovely.
Because we're kind of 5, 6 years old, and I think like the way you've done, you've reached a particular level. We now know who our audience is.
Yeah,
I didn't when we started. I kind of had a rough idea, but we now definitely know who they are. We now know what they want, and actually the bits that they get most out of what we give them. Because you think what you give them, they're gonna love this bit, but actually they love this
yeah,
bit more.
yeah.
And you don't know until you start experimenting, do you?
Definitely. And I think if I can give anyone watching or listening to this any kind of reassurance or advice, it's that you actually have to do the messy bit first.
Yeah.
I think it's you're doing yourself and your potential clients a disservice by trying to get it perfect right at the
Mm,
start,
hmm.
because you have to go through the messy middle
You
to
do.
figure out all of the bits that you feel confident about, that you love doing, that you enjoy doing, and actually, as you've just said, what your right fit clients are really going through, because until you've actually worked with them in more than one way,
Yeah.
it's you can have an idea of what they're going through, but like you say, they might actually have a whole other thing that you've never thought of, and you can't possibly know that at the beginning. So there's no such thing as having it all right. And
No.
even when you work on your messaging and you think that's it, it's done, tick, next week you'll meet a new client who's got a whole new set of challenges that you're like, oh wow, that is amazing. I've got the perfect thing for this. Now I need to pivot my messaging. It goes again.
It
So
never it never ends. You're right, it never ends.
it
And the
does.
landscape has changed, and people who are willing to give you their email address even 2 years ago, for a downloadable PDF, they're just not prepared to do that
Yeah,
anymore. They
exactly.
want a lot for their email
Yeah,
address.
definitely. And also sometimes it's worth remembering that if someone is signing up to your mailing list, sometimes the reason that they've done it is that they don't want to forget you. They've got no interest
Yeah,
in what you're doing right now for what you offer or what you can do to help them. They're not in the right place, but they don't want to forget you just in case.
yeah,
And that's a really important one to remember, because I think we're sold this idea that everyone on your mailing list is ready to buy, and
yeah,
that is absolutely not the case.
no,
So when it comes to your email strategy, you actually need to think about how can we keep those people that don't want to forget us in the loop? What can we give them right now that will be helpful to them? And also have some stuff that's there for the people that are ready to buy. So
yeah.
you have to split yourself into three with practically everything in marketing. It's really annoying.
You did. So where are you going to take your business, Abby?
Well, I'm at the point now where I'm almost at capacity, which is brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
The one-to-one package that I run, the entry messaging, I ran a beta of that last year for a group program. Um, there's a bit of nudging that I need to do, but I'm definitely looking to do more group
Right.
experiences. I don't think I've got the stamina for long group programs to facilitate them and to hold space for people
Mm,
in that context. But I think small groups,
yeah,
shorter blasts of really specific challenges is where I want to be, because I'm impatient. I want results quickly. And for me, a result is actually just feeling like I can do it. It's not
yeah,
necessarily how much money is coming in. So I really want to be there for other people that are like that. So blasts. I'm going to be
yeah.
doing blasts all through the rest of this year, I think.
I think you're right because there are so many moving parts to this. And actually, what I've discovered is that you can only work on one of the small moving parts at any one time. And you're right, that blast
Yeah,
is really important.
yeah,
My stamina for programs, a lot of our stuff is online, and we turn up 3 times a month to support our coaches who are ongoing in their learning. But I do a mini one for people like the pre-start, a bit like
yeah.
you've got a bit before you come to this bit, and I
Mhm.
I can do 6 sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. and then I've run out of steam, and
Yes.
I needed to have some time off, and then I can go back again.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing as well. Again, as coaches, we're all sold this idea that the group program is where it's at because it's almost passive income, right?
It's really not.
It's
It,
not. And
oh,
also, when you're creating any kind of offer, I think it's really important to recognize what you're like in that
yeah,
context.
yeah,
Because 9 times out of 10, I will, I'll be really into the program that the next thing that I want to learn about or the next thing that I want to develop into. And no matter how much I love it, no matter how much it costs, no matter how much I've convinced myself that this is the next thing for me, I will not get to the end. I will run out of steam 3/4 of the way.
yeah,
I have ADHD, so there's a lot of that in there. But so if I know that about myself as a participant of a program, I need to change the way that I make my offers
yeah,
because I want to be completely energized and fully present beginning to end.
yeah.
So yeah, a long program isn't going to work for me. I don't like to be beholden. I want people to succeed and get what they need. And I don't think a long process is right for them
No,
in the messaging area. There's lots of other spaces where long, masterminds and memberships are
yeah,
really for you.
yeah,
But yeah, learning capacity when you just want to get over the hump and
yeah,
into action, it needs to be a blast.
yeah. Without a doubt. I'm going to leave with one last question, Abby.
Yeah.
It's quite an existential one. Are you
Ooh,
ready for this?
I am.
If you knew that you only had a year to live, what would you do differently over the next year?
Hmm. Funny, I was thinking about that while I was on my COVID deathbed
Oh,
last.
right, okay. Am I
um,
dying? No, I don't think I am. But what if I was?
I would love to think that if I had a year to live, what I would do differently is take more breaks,
Hmm.
finish at, 5:30, 6 o'clock, spend time in the garden, spend time with my family. But I know myself really well and I love my business and my job. And so I would probably not do anything differently.
Well, it's a
Either
sign you're
that
on
or
the
I'd
right
sell the
track.
house and sell the house and go around the world for the last year. It's one way or the other.
Brilliant. I love it. Thank you so much for that. I really
Thanks
enjoyed
so
that,
much for
Abby. I
that.
really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We hope you got true value out of it. And if you did, what would be lovely is if you could leave us a 5-star rating. Why 5-star? Well, that helps the algorithm. And as we all know, the algorithms rule the world. So if you've enjoyed it and you've got value out of it, give us a 5-star rating so other people can enjoy it too. Thanks. See you next time.